a scion of many worlds. "Boil Coil, my little pirate, how are you?" Rizen's instant recognition of her and the sheer affection in her voice caused something to break in the hardened woman. The call goes from amusing to awkward in a hurry, and Emmanuel looks away and takes an awkward step to the side as Boil Coil is forgiven before she can get even halfway through an apology. Emmanuel leans close to the rear-raised portion of the ship where Gertie is and tries to ignore the granddaughter-grandmother bonding. Unfortunately, the antenna he has and his sharp ears mean he may as well be staring at them with his eyes wide open. Then the little heartwarming scene is interrupted by the chime of the communicator receiving another call. "Just press the—" Emmanuel begins, but the startled Hydro Nagasha pirate pokes the wrong icon, and the call is suddenly a conference. "Oh boy. Is this something I should be aware of?" Hercules asks with an amused look on one of his numerous faces. The rest are busy doing something, but he has the odd habit of looking over his own shoulder every now and then. "I lent my communicator out and the wrong icon was tapped. What's up?" Emmanuel asks. "We've finished our second of 3 sweeps for technology, and we've reinforced and repaired everything we couldn't pry out of the nest. We have the mining charges going into place now, and within the hour they're going off. This is a warning as it showed you were in the middle of bright dawn and should warn the people there. I'm with the council now. Thank you for the heads up. Be careful. The predicted waves are comparable to a Class 3 hurricane. The girls there have no doubt suffered worse, but it coming out of nowhere is a problem," Hercules says, and Emmanuel nods. Captains Gertie and Helen, while Boil Coil reunites with her grandmother, "Perhaps we should get people to reinforce their rigging and batten down the hatches," Emmanuel says, and Gertie snorts in amusement. "That's not what you do in case of rogue waves, but a warning's still a good idea. Tell them all to brace and let out enough slack on the line so they don't snap." Gertie tells him, "Battening down the hatches is for when wind and rain is growing too strong and you need to stop a ship from flooding." "Right. Well, that's all I have to say. Sorry for the interruption," Hercules begins. "How long do they have?" Rizen asks him. "An hour if nothing goes wrong, as I said before, but I'll call if there are further complications," Hercules says. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to keep nearby wildlife from harassing the charge drones." Then his part of the conference is over, and Rizen looks thoughtful for a moment. "I have a wonderful idea. Granddaughter, would you object to a bit of bonding as I help you help your people?" I'd love that." "See you soon, then," Rizen says, blowing her older-looking granddaughter a kiss. "Isn't she supposed to be in mourning?" Boil Coil asks incredulously. "Her daughters have stopped dying all around her. Why would she mourn?" Emmanuel asks. "Now then, you've been watching that portal for an hour. Let's get there so we can meet her as she arrives." "All right then. I know you slack-jawed barnacles have been listening in. Hoist the anchor. Get some wind in those sails. Miss Clarney, get over here and get on the wheel," Boil Coil bellows. "I'll take to the air and start warning people heading north. I'll loop the whole island, though I suspect only the easterly side will need actual warning," Emmanuel says as he slowly opens his wings, careful not to snap a line or smack someone. "Do the whole thing anyways. A secure line is a safe one," Gertie commands as Boil Coil tosses Emmanuel his communicator back. "That is the plan." He confirms as he pockets the device and slowly rises up before getting clear of the ship and rising faster. He can finally give a proper flutter of his wings when he's clear of the double-masted ship and climbing. He angles himself northward and flies down to the docks. "Hey! I have some people digging up the nest. It's deep in the water, and pulling it up is going to cause a rogue wave. Prepare the ships, docks, and houses. Lash down tight what you want to keep and let out slack to the ships so they're not snapping lines." There are no questions asked as the entire area erupts into a flurry of movement. Good. Now he just needs to keep spreading this. He takes to the air again. Mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and more titles are called her way as she emerges from the portal. Her first response is to grab the nearest serpents and give them kisses before moving. Children, it's wonderful to see you all. Even those not born of me and mine, I've come here to help you. A disruption to the waters is coming in a great wave, and you all need to prepare for its coming or it will cause harm. What, but that's... Someone begins. Grandmother, Boil Coil calls out, and the hardened and scarred pirate woman slithers up as the seawater on her boils away to leave a slightly crusty layer of salt. Little Boil Coil, I'm glad you're here for this. This is your home after all, and it will be easier to help everyone with you beside me, Rizen says, giving her a quick and tight hug. The healing comas will be here soon enough, so you'll have that little gap in your fin smoothed over again. Really? Really. But first, let's make sure we don't have any more new injuries before we heal old ones, she says. Now to work, my children. We have an entire nation to help. The wave comes a touch later than expected, but that just gives time for the stragglers and swabbies who screwed up the first time around to correct their mistakes. It's seen on the horizon well before it arrives as a rising wall that approaches. I didn't let out enough line for that. Someone cries out, and more than a few people take up the complaint. They were warned, but they hadn't prepared enough for it. All right then, time to put some work in. Can you guide the winds? Between us, we should be able to blunt the blow. Rizen asks him. Which direction do you want it and how strong, he asks. Storm strong and directly towards the wave. I'll handle the water. She says, slithering out even as his wings snap up, and he pulls with axiom to launch himself upwards. He rises upwards and upwards. Rizen is reduced to little more than a tiny sliver of a form as she swims out to face the wave, but he can vaguely make out her causing the waters to grow choppy with wide circling motions with her arms. He reaches the jet streams in moments and starts agitating the axiom in a certain direction. The air grows heavy, the air grows strong, the air drops like a tower of atmospheric power, and he thrusts his claws forward. Far below, the peoples of Bright Dawn gasp as a column of freezing air descends and then sweeps out with howling force from them and towards the immortal Empress. Wind meets water and forms into an army of waves that rush out to meet the still-building tsunami of power, slamming into it again and again, bleeding away the energy and cutting it down to size bit by bit until the crest sinks low and the white cap vanishes, lower still and the wave grows frail. The Empress ceases her guiding of the water and high above Emmanuel slowly descends just in time for a moderate, but far from damaging. Wave shifts the ships and wets the docks and doorways of Bright Dawn. But nothing is damaged, and no one is harmed. Well, you made that look easy, took out that wave at the knees, and killed its strength. Emmanuel notes as he descends down to where Rizen is returning to the docks. I made that look easy? You floated upwards and brought down the sky with gesture. You tore off its head easily. And the seas danced with you without any hesitation. He sends back even as he gently lands in the rapidly clearing area. The crowds do not want to be in his way. We actually fought that crazy moth. Someone marked him once, but wasn't he smaller? I was, Emmanuel states. I grew up. Don't tease them, they're concerned and confused. Rizen scolds him. Right, sorry about that. I'm no threat to any of you. In fact, I was meeting with your council so that we can speak of having Bright Dawn under our protection, mine as well as Lady Rizen. Are you allying with each other? We're allying everyone with everyone, and with us as the center. Rizen says, our Lacron is just one world among many, and those other worlds are finding their way to us now. Rescue has arrived, with new hopes, new promise, and new danger, so we face the danger together and best it. An alarm starts going off and Emmanuel checks his communicator before nodding. I need to be in Greenstone. After that, the gold lands. He then kisses Rizen on the cheek. See you soon. She gets at least 2 right handfuls of fuzzy moth rear in her responding flirt, and he chuckles, then vanishes in a teleport to reappear at the edge of the portal. He offers a salute to the watching crowd and steps through to the Aridus Valley again. Another teleport and he's at the portal to Greenstone and ducking through. He arrives in the walled in, guarded park that they've set up, and the guards wave to him. He waves back before he pulls out a communicator. You girls having a good day? He asks them even as he dials in a number. We are, thank you. They respond and he nods kindly to them. The call goes through and the face of Hercules appears. Busy. What's going on? He asks. That wave was enormous. If Rizen and I weren't there to blunt it, then it would have washed clean over half of Bright Dawn. Tell me you got warnings to the other coastal towns. We did. No loss of life reported, but there were inert axiom constructs near the tips of the nest, and the mining charges set them off, tripling the power. Is anyone hurt? A few girls are knocked silly, but it's mostly a lot of hull damage to the ship. So, smugglers. Because of course there were smugglers. There are always smugglers. And their damn protections lasted the whole 1,000 years and blocked our scans. Yeah, this is a clusterfuck, so I need to get back to work. Right, thanks for the info, Emmanuel says, and Hercules closes the call. Of course, I wonder what exactly got cooked off by the axiom blasts. Bombs, weapons, some kind of finicky tech. No, it wouldn't have survived the crash if it was finicky. Yes, something that decayed to a dangerous state. I'll have to wait on the reports to figure out what exactly. There are several cheers and numerous happy calls to him as he walks through the streets and heads up to the repurposed castle. The building was a cross between an emergency fort and shelter, a massive supply depot for lean times, an armory, and a center of Greenstone politics. Once the mind-clouding effects of the cultists were cleared away, the women were outright hell-bent on making sure they couldn't be taken advantage of again, and they had a half-dozen star seekers on permanent retainer for advice. It had paid off. Hey, the big moth is back, someone calls out in front of him, and he chuckles at that. From the reverent awe of other places to this very practical approach, everything hit everyone differently, and it was fun to see it in action. If you're worried about our food stores, don't. The crops are growing fast, and even a plague of insects descends to consume them all. We have enough dried meats and grains to see us through 2 years with ease. The first councilwoman says as he enters the room, and he lets out a laugh. I'm not here out of concern. I'm here with some good news. Oh? Related to the massive changes you and all other Earthani have undergone? Or perhaps that impossible promise you fulfilled? Anything else on the list? Are you going to pull the sun out of the sky so we can read better by its light? Not quite. I'm soon to be wed to the immortal Empress, binding our families together and hopefully binding together all of Lacrin as a unified world. And what does that mean for us? Protection, representation, and certain laws become non-negotiable. Laws you already follow and agree to be part of. Protection from what? Is the whatever it was that broke the nest coming back? No. As far as I can tell, the thing responsible is asleep. If an animal can be responsible for anything, what's happening is that further resources and rescue are on the way, but not all of them are well-intentioned. Just like here on Lacron, there are criminals and the more maliciously minded. And you unifying us will? Distract all of them long enough for you all to get used enough to things to not be taken in by their tricks and cons. And if they still get you, between me and Rizen, we'll be able to, at the very least, put the fear of God and death into them. So you're officially becoming our protector with the immortal Empress, basically? So what's going to change for us? I'll also be calming down national tensions, he says. You gave back the crown of Miru? Zavaya has grown up in a way you're going to like. Also, should she go insane, I'm still around. You do know that as the person that freed us, feeds us, and has helped us grow strong again, there's no way we'd refuse, right? The counselor asks. I still have to ask, he says with a shrug. You know some people are calling you a god, right? Yes, but I'd rather be a... It's just not fitting, but it is at the same time. Goal, and thank you, Emmanuel says. So, can I count on you to be there on the day of the ceremony? Of course, but there was some talk about rejoining Miru that you've given back the crown, Will. It's up to you. Now as before, you are Greenstone, formerly of Miru, and whether or not you will be of Miru again is your choice. What powers I'm taking up are to protect you, not control you. He says, and there are several smiles at that. You look like you're in a hurry. There's a lot to do. Also, have you been hearing the news out of Aridis with the nest being found and survivors frozen in a moment? Oh yes, we've sent out an offer for them to settle here. If we get a few, it'll be interesting. After all, they're still used to the lost technology. They'll be powerful teachers. Well reasoned. Emmanuel compliments them,